What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Project Pat mixtape from the winter 2006. Basically this project is called the Welcome Home Party, and this is also with the subtitle Gangsta Grillz 15. So it's a pretty good pitch. Like I was saying, this came out in the winter 2006. Basically, Project Pat was released from prison like the mid-late summer of 2005, but he did not actually put out a studio album again until basically like his December 2006 album, which I forget what that one's called, but that was definitely a classic. Appreciated that album quite a bit. I think it was Crook by the Book, The Fed Story, some pitches like that. It's a real excellent album. I would definitely recommend checking that out, especially if you like albums by 3 6 Mafia, like The Unbreakables and Most Known Unknown and Most Known Hits, some of those type pitches. The problem with this is a classic mixtape. The breaking thing about this particular mixtape is just the fact that out of 20 songs on this particular mixtape, I liked all 20. But the unfortunate thing is this is not really like a Project Pat solo effort. It's just kind of the concept. He more hosts it and kind of showcases some new music and pitches like that. But he doesn't actually have that many original songs, and just on top of that, he does have some songs on here, but they're on like previous projects. Apparently, he was in like a halfway house or something like that throughout like between like mid-late summer 2005, August to 2005 to about February 2006 when this came out. Don't really know the full details. It's kind of grainy nowadays just within the pitch of information about that, but I would have to say there's some good concepts just about this project in particular. It's just, I mean, apparently he put out a mixtape in 2003 which has some gems on there. There's at least two songs, which would be Don't Turn Around, and then there's another one, Don't Bite the D, which is pretty good. But those were on his 2003 mixtape, The Appeal, or something like that. I'm definitely going to get to that one because that was a project that he worked on while in prison. Might have been leftover songs from 2002 before he went to prison. Not really full blown sure, but I'd say it's pretty good stuff to kind of get that there and just kind of look after it. But unfortunately, in terms like, I mean, there are like a mild few amount of new Project Pat songs, but I would have to say Don't Turn Around is also to be found on like the Most Known Hits by 3 6 Mafia, which is kind of like a secret 3 6 Mafia album with like some bonus stuff on there, kind of amalgamating some of their greatest hits just around that time, just especially from like the Most Known Unknown era. So it's just kind of a good subventure, that particular album. But basically, the thing about this particular product is just the fact that the new stuff on here is kind of surprising, just because a lot of this information is so minimal about just Gangsta Grillz around these particular times, especially. It's just kind of grainy to be able to say that. But on top of that, it's just more difficult to find some of these type songs just because they don't necessarily have like information as to where they stem from. Like, I was not aware that Project Pat and the Roots did a song. I don't know a ton about the Roots, the group. I need to get to some of their music at some stage, but I'd have to say they do have a song on here called Show. It's an interesting pitch. I was trying to look and see if that song was on any particular project. It's at least not on the Roots' albums from 2002, 2004, 1999, but I would have to say it's a secret song that they particularly kind of did, which is interesting. So that might actually be an exclusive song. I wasn't able to locate the information. There's a secret Outkast song on this particular project, which is interesting just because actually Andre 3000 and Big Boy are on this particular song. It's just kind of a batch of one of the last probably Outkast songs that has both them on it. This is probably one of the most recent ones I can think of. Don't know when they made this or those particular type pitches. It's interesting that they gave this to Project Pat of all people as far as that pitch kind of happens, but that is a new song. Riding Swervin's a pretty nice one. This is a real excellent type, just morose type beat. Really appreciate this. Is one of the best songs in the album. I'm not sure if this one's a particular new one. I feel like I wasn't able to locate where this particular song was either. It didn't seem like it was on like the 2003 mixtape, The Appeal, which was the previous project that Project Pat put out. But I would have to say it's a real nice one to kind of get on here. But that just is kind of the concept of it. And there's also like a Lil Jon song on here that has like some fusion like snap music and crunk music, which is a pretty good concept because Lil Jon's crunk was starting to die down a little bit in early 2006, or at least starting to simmer compared to like Snappy Fingers and some of those type modes. So it's a good concept. This is definitely, like I said, I enjoyed all the songs on here. The only song I wasn't able to listen to is just the Lights Camera Action song by Young Capone, which is just kind of the concept on. There's 27 or 28 songs in this particular mixtape, so it's pretty packed to the gills, but you can actually purchase this particular mixtape. I just would have to say it is available for retail as far as that pitch can go. It's interesting concept, kind of get that, but if you get it just as like a free download, as like a mixtape, there's some songs that are removed just because you can find those on albums, one of which is like, there's like a song that was on the Purple Ribbon All-Stars album. I think it's called like, might be called Body Rock or something like that. I think it was like the second single off the Purple Ribbon All-Stars album. I reviewed that back in May. It's a pretty good pitch. You can see that one's a pretty good song. Then like T-Pain's In Love with the Strippers on here is like the bonus song, song 28, which is another nice one. And then there's Young Dro's Shoulder Lean, which is another nice one that's on here. early format to get that one. And then there's another song by Young Capone. That's the only song I didn't know. Didn't feel like looking that one up, but I'm just going to assume that it's good as far as that pitch kind of goes. I mean, really, to say if I do wind up disliking 19 out of 20 songs, this project would still, if like it had the more warranted new stuff, would probably be a 10 out of 10. But just to say I appreciated and recommended every song in this particular fashion. It's just the fact that out of 20 songs on here, only 10 of them are actually new in some particular format. The other ones you can find on different albums, like Juvenile's on here. Like Juvenile's on here with his reality check single, Get Your Hustle On. D Pharrell has a song on here, I'm the Man, some of those type pitches. There's a couple Biggie songs on here as far as that particularly going to goes off of his Duets album. Some pitches like that. This, like a song off of Joel Santana's album, Make It Work For You, which is a pretty excellent type song to kind of get there. So there's just some ones, about 10 of these really within that particular format are to be found elsewhere. I guess I'll kind of talk about those. So basically those three ones I listed, the Young Dro song, the Young Capone song, and like the Purple Ribbon All-Star song. But then some other ones would be Project Pat's Don't Turn Around, which is on Most Known Hits by 3 6 Mafia, and also like Project Pat's 2003 mixtape that he did when he was in jail. The Notorious B.I.G. and Slim Thug and T.I. song is elsewhere. Project Pat's Don't Bite the D. This is a pretty nice song. Let's talk about this one. I mean, I'm not going to provide like descriptions for it, but this is another one that's to be found in like the 2003 mixtape. Real nice one. Kind of has some of that appeal. This kind of a more kind of autumn malaise, just more dredgy type music. Something that reminds me of like Miss Jackson by Outkast. Real good pitch for that. This kind of slummish type feel about that particular one. Just real nice one to get that. D Pharrell's I'm the Man. Juvenile's Get Your Hustle On. Joel Santana, Lil Wayne, and Young Jesus, Make It Work For You. And then the Notorious B.I.G. Too Short and Webby song, Bustin' Nuts, as far as that particular pitch kind of goes. So it's just a good concept to get some of those. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and recommend the 10 songs I basically I recommend every song, but the ones that I recommend, there's 4 songs that are by folks that I haven't heard of and are more new Jackson folks like that I recommend. These are all real good songs. Really appreciate all of these. I would have to say these are some more hits that I'm going to provide descriptions for. Then there's 4 songs I feel like are real standouts, some of the best on the project that are actually project. 2 of them are Project Pat, and 2 of them, one of which is Outkast, and the other of which is like the new Lil Jon and Bo Hagen and D Pharrell song and Cry Mob song, I'd have to say. So those are some real bell of the ball type songs. Then there's 2 songs that are kind of in typical mixtape type format, I would have to say. One of which is Project Pat rapping at the end of Joel Santana and Jeezy's Best of Both Hoods project. Apparently they might have done a project, I'm not really sure. I question if Joel Santana and Jeezy did a mixtape back in 2005, 2006, but they at least had like some songs they rapped together on, and this is a pretty good one, like a typical kind of Lil Wayne mixtape format. And that one's the 3 6 Mafia song. And then there's another one that's like a new Boys in the Hood, which originally for a little while Lil Wayne was almost going to be in Boys in the Hood as far as that pitch going. He was going to replace Jeezy, but he raps with like Boys in the Hood on Nut Check, which is pretty good concept. I forgot about this particular beat. It's called Mic Check by Joel Santana. Nice pitch of that one. Real nice classic Don Cannon type beat. This really has that East Coast kind of 2000s DJ drama mixtape type flair about it. That's an appreciable song. This either format, whether you get it on the Joel Santana album or like this particular version. I mean, Lil Wayne shreds this song. The Boys in the Hood do pretty good on here, so it's just pretty good pitch to kind of get this secret song. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend the songs with descriptions that I recommend. So I'm going to talk about the new songs first, the bell of the ball type songs I was talking about, the 2 Project Pat songs, the Outkast and the Bo Hagen song, I'd have to say. So the first one is Riding Swervin'. This is a Project Pat song with a cat named Blackjack as far as that pitch goes. It's like a morose and kind of superb vintage 3-6 creepiness. I would definitely have to feel about this one. Excellent kind of just overall classic 3 6 Mafia beat, just stock for them as far as that particular pitch goes. This is some great autumn work shift type haze to kind of get. If you're just listening to like, if you're just cooling off from just got done with work shift pitches like that, 4:30, 5:30 p.m. as the sun's starting to set, this is a nice one to kind of have, smoke like a swish or 2 in the whip as far as that pitch goes, get some Taco Bell as far as that pitch has with it. A lot of this particular album is like winter, and a lot of this particular album in terms of like the new songs I recommend is winter and autumn makeshift, I would have to say. It's actually surprising that Project Pat had some of these work shift and makeshift type songs. A lot of this is just autumn and winter type makeshift to kind of get in just like a more ghastly type sense. This really has that brushy type feel. It's a good concept just for some of that after effect. It's actually kind of interesting that there weren't more crunk and kind of hood star type moments on here as far as that pitch kind of goes compared to like the definitely a different pitch from like the Crook by the Book album from late 2006. I'd say it's just a good taste of how some of this particular kind of went in particular. It's just a but I would say that the songs by these new jacks on here are more crunk type energy, just more vintage kind of, Southern Fried type energy. But talk about some of these songs that are like the ones I was talking about, the Project Pat stuff, and then like the Outkast, and maybe not the Bo Hagen song, but a good portion of these is like some autumn makeshift. So a good portion of these is like some autumn makeshift. So the pitch behind it. So basically another new song, like I was saying, that was really surprising that this was even a Project Pat song in the first place. This show. This has the Roots on there, which is a pretty good pitch. Don't know how many collaborations has really happened with Southern folks like Project Pat. I'd have to say whether they've done one with 36 Mafia or folks like that. I'd have to say in particular, but this is definitely a pretty floaty type one. Definitely appreciate the concept of it. It's like a great hazy kind of hot box the car type music. I'd have to say in particular, good concept for that. It's like a surprising collabo, like I was saying. This just like some real head trip type music. Great one to get overall tore up to pretty good. And it's like a vintage kind of out and about type sense, or just localized just within vehicle type senses, I'd have to say. And this is like some good cool outside kind of commute, I'd have to say. So it kind of has some relative bustle about it, just kind of a appreciation. It's kind of smoking with your buddies and pitches like that. It's in like September, October, I'd have to say. It's just kind of, it's not typical kind of format for like Project Pat, I would have to say, but it does feel more of like a Roots type song, but it works pretty well as like the fusion as to how some of that would particularly kind of happen. I do appreciate some of these type ones. It's kind of the sort of stuff that Old Dirty Bastard would do on like his Return to the 36 Chambers, just getting stuck in the whip as far as that particular kind of happens. For the most part, there's plenty of good smoking songs on here. I'd have to say it's just a good particular pitch behind that. Just really reminds me, it's just so lambent like its production. This is just one that feels great for like a mixtape type cuts, because it's not one that really ferociously jumps off the page, but this is like a real nice secret type song that really doesn't have that much like advertisement about it. I had to say, for the most part, I mean, I was today years old when knowing about this particular song, I had to say, so it's a good concept for that. What's Up is a pretty nice one. This is a Bo Hagen song that also has a member of D Pharrell, which is Favo, which is pretty good, and then it also has a member of Crime Mob, which is one of the Chicas, not really sure which one it is, Diamond or Princess, one of those type ones, but pretty good fusion of this. It's like an excellent fusion of like crunk and snap type music, I'd have to say in particular. It's like a super dance groove that this particular song kind of has here, and this is like a great song for Favo to be on. I would have to say Bo Hagen's pretty good with this song as well. He was kind of doing more crunk and snap type stuff. Too bad he never put out an album, but I think he does have some mixtapes, so if he has songs like this on there, I'd definitely be pretty wicked to see what he's up to. This is just a pretty litty song. This is one of the best songs on the tape, obviously, with that sort of pitch. It just really has that crunk and snap type energy, just crown pitch of the time when it was most popular as far as that particular kind of went. This is an easy kind of localized type bop to get your dance on as far as pitches like that kind of happen. Get some smokage in your system just for night type flair, and pizzazz as far as that pitch can happen. This might have been like a street single, something like that. I want to say Bo Hagen was originally going to put out an album somewhere in 2006, 2007, late 2005. So it's a good pitch to kind of get this street single as far as that particular kind of happens. So this is a nice one. And then the Outkast song Roaches and Rats is a pretty nice one. Once again, I have not been able to find the details of this particular song. This is kind of a mystery type one. Not really sure if Outkast dropped a mixtape. I looked on Reddit. Someone said that there was an Outkast mixtape that was kind of on Dat Piff for a brief while. I don't know if it was actually original material or if it was just leftovers, but there might have been something. I mean, now that Dat Piff is shut down, it's tougher to kind of realize about that. Might have just been a rumor or something, not really sure. But this is a pretty good song here. This is like a brisk kind of drifting music. This is some brisk kind of drifting music. I would definitely have to say it's like a mellow kind of autumn makeshift of a tune. I would definitely have to feel like pretty similar to like Show by Project Pat and the Roots. I would have to say good concept for that. And it's like some sleepy kind of errands and smoke a few type tune, I would have to say. Definitely one for smoking in the whip, pitches like that, just localized errands, just some of that type fare, just paying some low-key type bills as far as that pitch kind of happens with it, just sleepy kind of day, drowsy almost, even just the concept of just sleepwalking through some of these times as far as that pitch kind of happens, just real nice 2000s type flair to kind of get. Definitely needed more songs like this. Kind of feel like this is just a secret concept here. I don't know where this bewildering kind of song came from. It's just an excellent concept. Andre 3000 is actually on the song, pitches like that. Big Boy has a pretty good verse on here. It's just kind of the concept as far as that particular kind of goes. I don't know why they didn't do more songs like this. I don't know what era this came from. If this was supposed to be for like Idlewild or pitches like that, this kind of felt strange. I'm gonna talk about some of these new Jack type songs on here. Basically, a nice one on here is Smitty's "Bout It, Bout It." I would have to say this is like a meme song. This is a phrase I've definitely heard out and about. "Bout It, Bout It" is definitely a phrase I've heard throughout rap music throughout the times as far as that pitch kind of happens across the past 20 years. I'd have to say this is a meme song with like a vintage 90s West Coast type feel. I'd have to say. It's like some great homies smoke up type hit to kind of get here. I'd have to say it's a good concept for that. Definitely reminds me of something that's just ripped out of 1994 in a more mixtape type fashion, just with like an outgoing type sense that I suppose. Real good concept. Don't know who Smitty really is that well, but it's a pretty good concept of showcasing him, I'd have to say. Attitudes First Things First is a pretty nice one. This is like a gnarled kind of stunt music, I would have to say. This is like some good 2000s demon time type flair. I would definitely feel like this is a pretty good demon time bop. Definitely to say that. And this is like a Southern Fried kind of quick turn up of a song, I'd have to say. This one should definitely get things pretty gnarled pretty quickly. It's just too bad that there's not more. I mean, I like these new jacks being on some of these particular type songs, but these are more hungry cats compared to some folks that were more. I mean, I feel like even Bo Hagen, folks like that, they're more low key or probably bigger than some of these cats on these particular songs because I haven't heard sense of some of these folks. It just makes me question what happened to some of them, but maybe they have some projects worth checking out. But all of these songs that are showcased here with some of these new jacks are really good. This is a gnarled type one. I'm a D-Boy is a pretty nice one. It's like a good club turn up, I would have to say, an exhilarating kind of. This is exhilarating mixtape crunk noise. I would definitely feel like this is a nice gem for like an outing. So I do appreciate the concept of some of these type ones. Just some good night flash. A lot of these just have like the mixtape type flair, just really getting rowdy and get towards some of those weekend type pitches. Just a good concept to kind of see some of that. Project Pat really hosted some good stuff here just to be able to say some of these are like some auxiliary. These are definitely some exciting type ones to kind of get within that fashion and just like some dance crazes and overall just Friday night, Thursday night type turn up to kind of have for some of those moments. And they're free on top of that. So these are just some moments just to kind of get some, just to get some good poignant type moments as far as getting ready to have some raw, just overall club night type, some overall raw club night type appeal for like 2000s type flair, I would have to say. So it's a good concept kind of see some of these showcased. I feel like That's Me is another nice one. It's like a stock kind of pounding night outing flash of a song I'd have to say in particular. It's like more hype and wave making of a song I'd have to say in particular. And this is definitely a pretty good Kickstarter. That's Me definitely has similarities to Bo Hagen's What's Up as far as that pitch goes. Almost like a stock. That's Me is almost like a snap and kind of ringtone rap type song in particular as far as those pitches kind of happen. So these are definitely very trendy to like the mid 2000s. I would have to say it's just a good concept to see some of these glitzy type of appeal because I feel like a lot of these could probably last into like the early 2010s flash as far as some of that pitch kind of goes. Some of those mixtapes coming out 2011, 2012, 2010 as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just some good concepts kind of see some of that relative type of appeal. I do like these hungry type cats kind of get here. I feel like this probably should happen more often on mixtapes as far as that kind of happens. I mean, I was kind of, I don't want to say disappointed, but it was just kind of a miffing type feeling the fact that Project Pat didn't have more original songs on here. But I would have to say I like the showcase of what this mixtape brought to the table. Definitely had some good moments. Some of these new jacks are pretty good. There's some secret Outkast songs and Bo Hagen songs and pitches like that. Some of these mixtape freestyles like the Jeezy and Joel Santana. I don't know if they actually dropped the mixtape. It makes me curious if Jeezy and Joel Santana actually dropped the mixtape 2005, 2006, because I know Lil Wayne and Joel Santana dropped the project in 2006. It's a pretty good concept kind of see that. They did have like some mixtape type flair. Just pitches like that. It's a pretty good hosted project. Like I said, I recommend all 20, practically 19 or 20 of all the songs on this particular project. So some good concepts there. But just to be able to say, so that's the concept about this particular project. So everything on here is to talk. I mean, once again, to kind of say that the New Boys in the Hood song Nut Check is a pretty nice one. It has Lil Wayne in his prime Carter 2 era type pitches as far as that particularly kind of happens with some inspired Boys in the Hood type verses. Good concept for that. And then like then the Jeezy song to the 3-6 Mafia beat Stay Fly. Project Pat, Joel Santana, and Jeezy on the Stay Fly beat's pretty nice one, just the concept. Now, Project Pat doesn't rap till the end, and he doesn't really rap on like the main part of the instrumental, but it's still pretty good pitch to kind of get him on that. But yeah, so in terms of what I'm going to score this mixtape, because I liked all the songs on here, that definitely has to mean some sort of damage as far as that particular pitch kind of goes. But I don't feel like full blown giving it a 10 out of 10 just because a lot of these songs are kind of to be found elsewhere. Especially you can just purchase them on the album. So I'm not going to match a score horribly just within that pitch. I'm going to give this mixtape like a 9 out of 10 just because these new songs on here, these 10 songs that are new just within the wickedness of them, these are all pretty essential and just kick-ass Southern Fried type tunes to really get on here. A lot of these new jacks really have some ravenous kind of club energy that really gets some things turned up, competes with some artists that don't oftenly kind of do like tons, like 10, 15, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 club joints on their particular projects or even mixtape type flair. It really felt hungry. I feel like the two new Project Pat songs are pretty wicked, especially the concept of him teaming up with the Roots as far as that particular pitch can goes. And I also like this Blackjack Cat on Riding Swervin'. Riding Swervin's a real excellent type one. The Outkast song's pretty excellent. Don't know where that one spawned or came from or where it was made. And I kind of feel like the Bo Hagen song was pretty excellent, just with the fusion of like crunk and snap as far as that pitch goes. There's just some excellent type stuff. And then plus like, so the mixtape gets a 9 out of 10. The Soldier Scar I'm going to go ahead and give a 10 out of 10, just because the pitch behind it, a lot of this is just amalgamated, just night centric type bound type stuff. A lot of autumn brush and pitches like that. Winter and autumn makeshift is for when it's cooler out. Maybe not like snowfall type music in terms of like a full blown winter storm, but definitely some good concepts for like November, October, September, some pitches like that. Just 65, 70-degree weather or cooler, some pitches like that, even 50-degree. Just some good concepts of like hoodie and jacket type music. I'd have to say is just some good concepts for workship malaise. It's actually on here. It's actually some good concepts, not as full blown hustlers makeshift as much. Just kind of the concept of just some workship type hazes to kind of get for after hours. We're getting ready to get turned up with some of the more new jack type folks, I'd have to say. So in terms of the future, not really sure what Project Pat's been up to in recent times. I know he's at least dropped projects at least up to about 2020 or so. I know he dropped like a Mista Don't Play or some pitches like that. He's had some projects in relative recent times. It's kind of been a while since I've touched base with him, so I'm gonna have to get to some more of these. But this is definitely a pretty state of the art type mixtape, and I do recommend it quite easily, I'd have to say.